In a world where we have been taught to rely heavily on processed foods and pharmaceuticals, it's easy to forget that nature is king and provides us with the best medicines and nutrition. In today's video, we will explore all of the incredible benefits of wild edibles, how to identify and forage for these foods, and also how we can safely incorporate them into our daily diets. First, let's talk about some of the best examples of wild edibles that can be found in nature. Wild edibles, including nuts, mushrooms, berries, and leafy greens, are chock full of minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. And guess what? They have been used for years immemorial for medicinal purposes. Take, for example, elderberries, which have been used for centuries to boost the immune system. Also, wild edibles like dandelion green have been proven to be a great source of iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C. But before you set out to forage for your own wild edibles, there are a couple of things you should know. With the plethora of wild edibles out there, it's important you know how to identify wild edibles. Not just that, it's also important to know where to find them. When it comes to identifying and foraging wild edibles, you must be aware and cautious of your environment. As a rule of thumb, only harvest plants you're convinced are safe to eat. Some of the best ways to identify wild edibles include looking at their distinctive features, including things like scent, color, texture, and more. And if you're just getting started foraging wild edibles, it's important to have field guides specific to your region and also do your research before heading into the wild. Keep in mind that some wild edibles can be poisonous, and when ingested, they could trigger allergic reactions. To this end, we always recommend starting with a small quantity, and to play it safe, you can consult medical professionals to share your concerns, if any. Once you're able to identify your wild edibles and confirm they are safe to eat, it's time to start adding them to your diet. But instead of outrightly incorporating them into your meals because you think they are safe, an excellent way to go about it is to start small and gradually increase the quantity you consume. Start by adding wild berries to your morning smoothies and see how it tastes. You can also sauté some mushrooms for a delectable side dish. Let us also quickly add that it's important to prepare these foods carefully. Unlike you do with traditional meals, ensure that wild edibles are thoroughly cooked to eliminate any potential health risks. If you are not particularly sure about the safety of a particular plant, say a mushroom, it's a good idea to consult a knowledgeable forager or a professional for guidance. While foraging food from nature sounds like a fun thing to do, there are some common misconceptions about wild edibles you should know. For instance, just because something is from nature doesn't necessarily mean it's safe to eat. Additionally, some wild foods could be toxic if consumed in large quantities. So start small and increase the quantity as you get the hang of it. As we mentioned earlier, some wild edibles could be poisonous, and if you're unable to identify which is which, you might end up eating poisonous wild food. Also, there is a popular misconception that wild mushrooms are poisonous, which is totally false. Many edible mushrooms, including popular ones like morels and chanterelles, are not only safe to eat, but also highly nutritious. Even though many naysayers believe that wild edibles are not as flavorful as cultivated foods, it has been debunked time and time again by renowned foragers. Just so you know, many wild foods boast unique flavor profiles and textures that will delight your taste buds. Even though foraging for wild edibles is both a fun and rewarding experience, it has a few pitfalls you should be aware of. As we reiterated earlier, wild plants and mushrooms can be poisonous, so before you incorporate any wild plant or mushrooms into your diet, you must be able to distinguish the safe from the toxic species. And because it can be a tad challenging to find specific wild foods, understanding your local environment and ecosystem will make your job easy as you saunter your environment for wild edibles. As preppers, it's always important to prepare for emergencies, including food shortages. Food storage and emergency preparedness are critical for surviving a disaster. Unfortunately, while many preppers know the importance of stocking up on food, they often overlook the potential perks of having wild edibles in their food storage. Here is the catch. Integrating wild plants and edibles into your food storage and emergency preparedness plan will provide you with a sustainable food source that is not only nutritious but also readily available. In addition to including wild edibles in your food storage and emergency preparedness plans, preppers can also add freeze-dried and dehydrated foods such as berries, herbs, spices, nuts, wild games, and mushrooms into their food storage. What we love most about these foods is that they have a long shelf life and are easy to store. Although preppers can gain a lot from experienced foragers about the importance of incorporating wild edibles into their daily diet, notable personalities like Bear Grylls, famous for hosting Man vs. Wild and Running Wild with Bear Grylls, have a wealth of experience preppers can learn from. Grylls demonstrated how one could survive on wild edibles and plants in his shows. There are even scenes showing him eating a wide variety of natural food, including insects, fish, grubs, and wild games. Also, his shows are great resources for preppers to learn which plants and animals are safe to eat. Thanks to the work of great men like Bear Grylls, we now have fantastic resources to get us started on foraging. Besides Bear Grylls, Les Stroud is another prominent personality helping foragers navigate the wild in search of safe foods. He has amassed a large following on social media thanks to always filming himself in the wild, offering survival tips, including how to find and prepare a variety of wild edibles such as berries, roots, and fish. Both Bear Grylls and Stroud have proven that it's absolutely possible to survive and thrive on wild edibles found in nature. For avid preppers, this is an important lesson to learn. In the event of unforeseen circumstances and emergencies, you may be forced to rely on only wild edibles for sustenance. By following the work of great men like Grylls and Stroud, preppers can gain valuable knowledge and skills necessary for identifying and preparing wild edibles for consumption. However, before you jump into foraging, you must have some basic tools to guide you every step of the way. As you know, knowledge is power, so having a good field guide wouldn't be a bad idea. In addition to having a good field guide, you should also have a knife or a pair of scissors in your toolkit. And yes, we also recommend having a basket or bag to collect your edibles. While foraging will provide you with an endless supply of wild edibles, which you won't need to pay for, it's important you know it's not just about the food you find. Foraging in the wild allows you to experience nature in its most beautiful form. That said, it's important to remain safe while foraging. Before incorporating that wild edible into your diet, double check and ensure that it is safe to eat, as some wild edibles can be poisonous. We have come across several instances where people unknowingly ate poisonous mushrooms and the experience was not pleasant. For those just getting started with foraging, we recommend starting small. With time, you'll get the hang of it. Also, you can join foraging communities on Facebook. You'll be surprised at the information and resources available in these communities. Since it is a community of like-minded persons, you'll get quick answers to all your questions and queries. Thanks for joining us on this adventure of discovering the wonders of wild edibles. Always remember that the food you find in the wild can be some of the best medicine and nutrition to feed our bodies. If you find this video helpful, feel free to share it with your friends and loved ones. Also, like and subscribe to this channel for more exciting content like this one.